One, I think what we should have probably done before we hit the record button was talk a little bit about how we're going to intro the podcast every week.
Who's
Because
going to
I was
take the
like,
lead?
am I taking the lead or are you taking the lead?
Dude, you invited me to the platform, so I say I say you take the lead.
Okay.
It'll be like you are host A, or you're host 1, I'm host A.
A and 1A. 1A and A. Oh, whatever.
Sure.
Okay.
It's like instead of going 1 and 2 or A and B, it's like just 1 and A. But
1 and A.
One's a little more important.
That makes sense. It's like in the telephone books, right? Where you have like triple A plumbing, and it's all like their only reason they're naming their business that is to be the first page of the phone book.
And it's now completely irrelevant.
Yeah, exactly.
All of these stupid businesses. AA storage. Oh yeah, well I'm AA.
I'm triple
storage.
I am 1A storage. 1A storage.
Is that why they did A1 steak sauce? I feel like
that's a great question.
I think we need to dive into that a little bit.
I think we do. And if anything is going to give you like insight on what this podcast is going to be like, it is the conversation we've just had right now. All right. So I should probably introduce us.
Yeah.
Right? We don't at this point, we don't even know what the title of this podcast is going to be. The name of this podcast. We've thrown some ideas around, and I guess my name's Dan Johnson. This is Dan Matthews, the other Dan. We're both Dans, so that's going to get extremely confusing fast for the listeners. But Dan, why are we starting this podcast? Why did you think that this was a good idea to start this podcast?
Dude, I just like to talk, man. I like to have conversations about interesting topics, whether I like it or not. Some of my favorite conversations are conversations I know nothing about. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning and forming opinions as I go, and I realize how much of an idiot I am sometimes. But, I mean, we both podcast already.
Yep.
This just seems like a no-pressure podcast. Whereas our other stuff, it's like, man, we have to do it. We got to get it out on this date. We got to, figure out guests and relevant topics. And the idea of just sitting around and BSing and letting off steam and having a drink at 9 a.m. or doing whatever, like I'm all about it. So
I'll tell you what, if we're going to start drinking at 9 a.m., I am going to have to reschedule these from Wednesdays to Fridays.
Hey, because I said a drink. Okay.
A drink. Okay. Dude, I'm not. Okay. We'll obviously get into this, but I cannot have a drink. It sucks, but I am a 2 drink, 3 drink guy, or I'm a 0 drink guy, because what'll happen is I'll have 1 drink and then I'll get tired and then the rest of my day shit. So I can't, like when I go tailgating, I love tailgating. I love tailgating because you get a drink in the day. You can go home, you can rest for a little bit, and then maybe if you play your cards right, you have time and energy to go out and do something later in the afternoon or whatever, depending on what time the game is. But for me, if I just have 1 drink, then I get sleepy, I get tired, and then I want another drink, and then I want another drink, and next thing you know, you have college Dan Johnson show up, and that's not a good thing. That is not a good. That guy's
an asshole.
He's just
trying to wrestle everybody that walks by.
Oh, talk to everybody, like putting people in headlocks and being, hey, buddy. I'm that guy who's like, I love you, man. I love you. You're awesome. I love you. Over complimenting the wife all the time.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
That's a fun fact because I have been drunk a total of 2 times in my life.
In your life?
In my whole life, I have been drunk twice.
Wow. That's commendable.
I didn't start drinking until way later in life.
Okay.
Like growing up in Wisconsin, that's pretty rare, right?
Right.
But I think I had my first drink when I was 11 or 12. And fun fact, my uncle had just gotten high with me and my cousin. So neither of our dads, it was another uncle. We all smoked weed for the first time, went back to my cousin's house, and he was like, dude, my parents have beer in the fridge. and we saw them mixing a drink the night before. And so we thought you mix a drink, right? So we mix a Miller Lite with red Kool-Aid. And I mean, we're like 11 and 12 years old in a kitchen at 2 a.m., just like, oh, we both take a sip. And after that point, I didn't drink another drop of alcohol until I was like 22, 23, probably. Just had no interest at all.
My favorite part of that story, here we are talking about alcohol, and you're like, yeah, man, I was pretty good with alcohol. I had my first drink at 11, but that was after I got high. So, I was like, it was leading up to like, oh man, this guy, he has no experience or no fun at all. And then all of a sudden you hit us with the, oh yeah, but I was smoking weed
Hey,
before.
listen, this whole night was brand new to me, right?
Okay.
It was all just, I was going to hang out. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting in a room and a pipe's being passed around, and I let it pass a couple times. And then finally I was like, sure, I'll try it. And when I say got high, I mean, like, I probably puffed it into my cheeks and never even inhaled it.
Okay.
So
the most basic.
In my mind, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm in outer space right now because but we were also in an apartment guest bedroom. So maybe I got high from just hotboxing with those guys. I don't know.
Hotboxing. I've been high from hotboxing before.
Man.
I have a feeling we're gonna get along great because I feel like we have some interesting stories that are, what's that called? It's alcohol, it's drugs, it's stimulants, like whatever, there's like a general,
like paraphernalia.
Paraphernalia. Yeah, we'll go with paraphernalia. We're going to have a lot of paraphernalia stories. Because I know I have. And by the way, I've also been drunk 2 times, but in the same day. So I can remember in college where we would go to a kegs and eggs, where we would have like a breakfast, get drunk, go pass out, and then go out that night sober and then get drunk again. So we're on different sides of the spectrum as far as how many times we've been drunk.
I've always, like, since I started drinking, so I couldn't handle a beer at all, right? After that Miller Lite Kool-Aid deal, I couldn't drink beer. Now, I'll have a beer every now and then, but like, I like bourbon a lot. And it's funny because I love Jesus and I love bourbon, right? And being in the Bible Belt, those two things do not mix. Growing up in a small town church home, it was like alcohol, tobacco, cigarettes, and being gay. Like, those are the things that are completely unacceptable. And I'm like, I've got 3 of the 4 down now. I'm not gonna shoot for the 4th, but like, hey, I just feel like
So you've never smoked cigarettes?
I knew it was coming, and then
it was coming. You left
I knew
it
was
open.
coming, and then you left a long enough pause to make me think you weren't going to hit me with that.
And then I hit you with it. Yeah.
And then you hit me with that. No, I am married to Sam, but it is short for Samantha. So, yep.
I'm glad we got that covered, right? Let's talk about kind of our why we're here. What do you do? What do we do for a living? All right, we got to introduce ourselves to these people. I know there's several people who are going to be coming over to this podcast from what we're already doing, but we have to educate the people that are just coming in for the first time about our background. So you kick it off.
Okay. So right now we do podcasting and social media for a living. I've got my podcast, The Nomadic Outdoorsman, which is hunting everything from frogs to moose. It literally covers all that. And then my wife and I, we've got social media channel called We Are Dan and Sam. There's a podcast associated with that. And this is all new to us. I mean, in the last couple of years is really when this kicked off. We both worked normal jobs, 9-to-5 jobs, and then social media just kind of took over, which is weird because one of the my buddies always call me an influencer, and for some reason it's just the most filthy term in my mind. I'm like, oh, it just feels gross, like it feels like that's what 13-year-old girls aspire to be. Like, I want to
Yep.
be an influencer. And I'm like, listen, dude, I just make fun content with my wife and that's it. So, yeah, that's what we do. We live in Missouri, which is one of the weirdest states I think I've ever been to. Like, there's plenty to do. There's a lot of outdoor stuff to do, but it just feels stupid saying you're from Missouri. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah.
like when people are like, I'm from Arizona, I live in Arizona. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty
Awesome.
cool. I
Yeah.
live, I live in Florida. Sweet. I live in Washington State. I
Mhm.
think of for some reason,
Epic places.
the center of the country is all one state to everyone else that doesn't
Yeah.
live here,
Yeah.
you know?
So my favorite is when I tell people I'm from Iowa, and they're that maybe they are on the West Coast or the East Coast or whatever they may be. They're like, "Oh yeah, lots of mountains there," because they're assuming I'm from Idaho, right? And I'm just like, no. Oh, that's where the Buckeyes, Ohio State, dude. You just said Ohio State, and I just told you I'm from Iowa, and so Iowa is like a, a state that doesn't exist for 90% of the
Oh,
population,
yeah. Well,
unless
there's
you're like
nothing that
a big
sets
deer hunter.
Iowa apart. Like, I
Yeah.
hate to say that to someone from Iowa, but like, what does Iowa have that no other state has? Is there anything that makes it unique?
I mean, our state fair, I guess, is the second largest state fair in the country. So we're known for, or it could be the first. It might be the second, but it's either Texas or Iowa has the largest state fair.
And if you look east or west, you can actually just see straight across to the next state fair, can't you?
Yeah, damn near, damn near. Uh, and then I don't know, like, and then our tenderloins maybe but that's every Midwestern. Like, I bet you go to Illinois, it's like, what are you known for? Oh, we're known for our breaded pork tenderloins and how huge they are. And so that's kind of what Iowa, from a culinary standpoint, is known for is, hey, we got some badass pork tenderloins. And every store or restaurant or greasy spoon in the area is like, hey, we got a pork tenderloin, we got a pork tenderloin, and they're pretty much all the same. Just like
Yeah.
Mexican food, right? Have you ever gone out to eat Mexican food with your family or your buddy, and they're like, this place is awesome because it's real, authentic Mexican food, and it is the exact same menu and the exact same food as every other Mexican restaurant you've ever
Yep.
been to, right?
Dude, the criteria for putting things on your like in advertising with restaurants, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like is the most open, like do whatever you want. World famous.
Mm-hmm. World famous.
World famous. Number one best. Like
Yep.
everybody has these big bold signs like award winning.
Mm-hmm.
Like your kid drew you a picture of a blue ribbon and gave it to you for your restaurant and now
Mm-hmm.
you're an award winning restaurant,
Yep.
and the world famous, I think I was in Colorado one time and it was like world famous candy shop. If you have people that come there at any point that were from 3 different countries,
Mm-hmm.
you can now say you are world famous.
Yep.
And I'm like, world famous to me means if I go to somebody in Bangladesh and I'm like, dude, have you heard about this candy shop? And they're like, I have heard about it. Now
Yeah.
you're world
Now
famous.
you're world famous. Some third world country with no internet, and those people know about it. Then
They
you're
just
world famous.
know about it. But yeah,
Yeah.
you can just, hey, I could say that I am a world famous podcaster,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
There's other countries. Okay, funny story. When we first met, you were like, hey, dude, I saw this post that you did, and it was analytics from my podcast, and it was telling me like, oh, what rank I am
Oh yeah.
in the outdoors. In my mind, I'm like, I'm the number 9 outdoor podcast, and it was tracking some stupid analytic like fastest growing over a 12-minute period on Tuesday. You know what like it was just so dumb, but they sucked me, like the website sucked me in to be like, man, I need to track this. I need to
Yep.
figure this out. And so I keep seeing these numbers climbing and I'm like, dude, I'm at number 3. This is unreal. Like I just
Yep.
started the podcast. And so in my mind, I'm this awesome podcaster, but I
Right.
was number 1 in like Sweden or Norway for a little while. And again, I don't know what it was tracking, but I was pretty pumped about that. I've never even met someone from Sweden or Norway, but
How awesome would it be if you and Sam decide to take a trip to Sweden or Norway someday? You get off the plane and you're just rushed, like, "Oh, Dan Matthews. Hey guys, it's Dan Matthews. It's Dan. He has the hunting podcast." Like, and they're treating you like the David Hasselhoff of Germany, right? You're just you just get mobbed and you move to Sweden or Norway because you can make so much money over in Sweden or Norway. That would
oh,
be
dude,
sweet.
I feel like those are probably pretty cool states. I just don't know what they have as far as like hunting opportunities, and that's my number one passion. If people are coming over from the nomadic outdoorsman, they
Yep.
know.
Yep.
But like, I just love that stuff. And the more I hear about Europe
Mm-hmm.
and how restrictive gun stuff is over there,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm
No
out.
thanks.
I'm 100% out.
Yeah.
So, what's the
Yeah.
weirdest? Have you had somebody like? What's the weirdest encounter you've had with somebody who recognized you out in public?
In public?
Yeah.
Well, I don't like talking about this stuff a lot because it makes me feel and sound like a douchebag, right? But every time I go to an outdoor store or something like that, someone will come up to me and be like, "Hey, dude, love your podcast," because it's local or they're there and the outdoor community what we do is fairly small, so everybody kind of knows everybody, and so it's a really niche market, right? So the weirdest is when my wife is with me or when my kids are with me. My kids think it's awesome, by the way. When some guy
Oh
goes,
yeah.
"Hey, Dan, man, love your podcast, man," and I'm like, "Thanks, thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate that." And then my kids are like, "Dad, are you famous?" And I lie to them. I straight lie to them. I go, "Yes, I am famous. I'm one of the most famous people in the
You
outdoor
better save
space."
those birthday cards. Like those are
Yep,
going to be worth something.
exactly. And so, but then like my wife is just, "You think you're the shit? Like you think you're awesome because some random dude came up to you and." But it is kind of cool to know the reach of what you've done.
Yeah.
You have a reach. I mean, I've been stopped in an airport in Chicago before, and some guy wearing it was the only. So I was wearing probably a T-shirt with a deer on it, and he was wearing a T-shirt with a deer on it, or some bow hunting company. And he looked at me, and I kind of looked back at him because or it's like whether it's a hunting T-shirt or your favorite sports team, and you're wearing the Iowa Hawkeyes shirt and he's wearing the Iowa Hawkeyes
Just have to
shirt,
acknowledge.
you just give him the head nod. But this guy came up to me. He's like, "I swear to God, I've heard your voice before." Because I was talking to my wife and I go,
Yeah.
"Yeah, maybe." He's like, I go, "Do you hunt?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then I showed him the finger. So I have only 9. By the way, I only have 9 fingers. Like I've had a finger that's been chopped off. And so um, he's like, "It's you, old Nine Fingers." He didn't even call me by my name. He just called me old Nine Fingers. And I'm like, "Yep, that's me."
I
We
feel
made.
like this is a mountain man movie. Oh, it's you. I've been looking for you,
I've
old
been
nine
looking for
fingers.
you. I've been looking. I got to take you in, old Nine Fingers, for the atrocities you've committed against the human race. So, yep,
Dude, that's
old Nine
good.
Fingers. Yep.
I like that. I
Yep.
don't have any like features that like make I mean, I've got 10 fingers, 10
Mhm.
toes, but I feel like that's a pretty cool like just poof.
Oof.
You like you go to wave and they're like
Yep.
it's him.
You
It's
know how
old
many
nine
stories
fingers.
I have for this podcast about how I have used this finger to make people angry and or scared or laugh? Dude, we're just getting started. We're just getting started on this.
This is episode 1.
One.
We're climbing the charts. I hope that company also sends you a thing like number 3 for
Yeah.
listeners name with the first letter A on the 13th of the month.
Yep.
Yeah, we've with the We Are Dan and Sam stuff that like it just seems like we don't go anywhere anymore without getting it seems like at least once a day. And if we go into a store, we play a game of like how many? She'll be like 3. And I'm like, I think 2. And that's how
Yep.
many people we think are gonna approach us. But the worst we went into she went into Chipotle, and she walks in, and there's this short, heavyset, like college age Asian chick behind the counter,
That was very descriptive. That was
supposed to be
very
making food.
descriptive.
I just wish I had a video to show everybody what I'm talking about. She straight up turned into a bird, like trying to fly. I'm talking like her hands were shoulder height, elbows glued to her hips, and her hands are just flapping as she's jumping up and down. She is so excited. And mind you, Sam is 4 people back from even being at the counter.
Mhm.
So all of the people in front have no idea what's happening. They think she's just going crazy.
Yeah.
And she's like squealing and giggling. And every time, the problem is that's the only Chipotle even close to our house. So it's like we have to go there. And she is there doing the same thing. It's like she's never met us before. This is the first time she's seen us every time we go in. And
Like your kids don't go to school with her, right?
oh,
It's like it's noticed from the podcast or the social media that she does.
yeah, no, it's 100% from social media. And those are the ones that I'm like, okay, we're not gonna. I hope I don't see you outside of your work setting. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
it's
she
just
works at Chipotle.
Oh yeah, she's
Oh, okay.
behind the counter.
Okay.
She's supposed to be asking black or pinto beans,
Yeah.
right? And instead she is full on losing her mind.
Yeah.
And
That's awesome.
so anyways,
Do you
we
ever take
haven't
advantage
gotten
of that?
any no, we haven't gotten any free Chipotle. I think she's pretty low on the
On the totem pole?
totem
Yeah.
pole at Chipotle. But
So your best maneuver here would be to build up this chick's self-confidence to get her to a managerial position and then take that Chipotle for everything that they have, like extra everything, no upcharge, free burritos. That's what I'd do.
I think that is the most valuable use of my time.
Yep.
Just to hopefully this isn't a short game. This is like a 3-year
Long
plan.
game. Yeah.
3 years from now, I might be able to get extra toppings on my burrito.
Hey man, if it's the only
You should be a
Chipotle
life
in
coach, Dan.
you know, I've thought about that. Just like how broken down someone would be to take advice from me. Like I imagine the lowest point of my life ever that I've ever been in. And then I imagine like someone who's like smoking crack with dead rats as using them as pillows. I don't, whatever. And that's the kind of person that I could life coach. Like, maybe you should stop smoking crack. That's about the only advice that I could give a person, but it could be warranted.
The
Could be
people that you're going to give advice to are other people who are at least a digit short,
a digit short. Yeah.
but for real weird reasons, like
Yeah. Amputees
yeah,
from like sex doll accidents or something.
my cracked out girlfriend bit it off.
Bit it off.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
No, I just imagine some homeless dude asking you for advice, and then you're like, hey man, this is really what I think you should do.
Yeah.
And he's like, that is not a good idea. And just
the
then
homeless person tells me that my idea is horrible.
yeah, and then he just pushes his cart away real slowly.
Like, that
Life lessons with Dan.
That might have actually been that happened. I think one year I was walking down the streets of Indianapolis, Indiana, and there was a bum on the street, and some of these guys begged for money, and maybe I was in a bad mood. I was like, you need to get your life together. And he's like, I'm having a blast, dude. Like, I love being homeless and addicted to drugs. I love it. You're in the wrong. So that might have happened already.
And you're just like, oh man, I do really hate my job.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah. I've actually seen homeless camps. I've visited Seattle and Portland, and I've driven through some of those areas where there's just tent cities and garbage and shit all over. And yes, some of these people are extremely high on fentanyl, but I don't see anybody looking like they're sad, right? I feel like being homeless I don't know, just ultimate freedom. You can go wherever you want, do whatever you want anytime.
I think there's something that's like when you have no responsibility, like you answer to nobody,
Mm-hmm.
you can do whatever you want whenever you want. There is freedom in that.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's really why Sam and I quit doing 9 to 5 stuff. It's like we wanted time freedom. We
Yeah.
didn't want to ask somebody permission to go spend a day with our family.
Yeah.
And like that sucks. That
Yeah.
really sucks when your kid's like, "Can you come to my school and do this?" And I'm like, I have to go ask the person who's in charge of me if I can go and do and so I totally get that side of it. Like to be a wanderer and just hitchhike your way across the country or, ride your bike or roll down hills in your stolen Target shopping cart. Like it sounds like they probably are. If you could do that and somehow not be addicted to drugs or alcohol
Yeah.
severely, it'd probably be a pretty fun life.
I actually think people would look at you crazier. It's like,
Oh yeah.
imagine me going out right now and being like, what do I want to do today? I'm going to steal a Target shopping cart. I'm going to go looking for pop cans and beer cans. I'm going to put a whole bunch of stuff in there and I'm just going to push it around town all day and then not be addicted to drugs. People would look at you more weird if
I'd get
you,
taken in for sure.
yeah,
If
it's
if
like,
a cop pulled you over and you had to explain to them, "No, I'm just doing this,"
mhm,
they'd be like, "This guy cannot be on the street. Like
exactly.
something's gonna go wrong in a hurry."
Imagine being able to use this excuse. Oh, I'm addicted to drugs. Oh, okay. All right. Go about your day. Go about your day. Right.
Yep. You want a hot meal? We'll take you in just for the night.
Yeah. Do you
Give
need a
you a
place
hot
to stay?
meal.
No.
It's pretty cold out here.
Yeah. My buddy Randy the Rat, he's over by this dumpster over here. I already got dinner plans with him. We're having a candlelight dinner. So,
Dude, could you imagine just going and sitting in on conversations? Have you ever been around somebody who's like fully cracked out of their mind on something and just
oh, yeah.
listen to what they're saying?
Oh, yeah.
It is some of the wildest stuff. We had an
Interesting.
encounter. My wife and I, we used to go down with a group of friends to Florida, and my buddy's dad had a house like right on the bay.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, just a huge house with a pool and a hot tub and like a retaining wall that dropped into the backside of the island. And so we would go down there and hang out. And one night we were on the beach. It was dark, and I see my buddy who's had a couple drinks. He runs over to a bridge or to the pier, and he's talking to people who are underneath the pier. And all of a sudden, this guy pops out. And I mean, when you talk about a happy dude, this dude was happy. He pops out. He goes, "My name's Johnny Ray, and I'm on drugs." And we're all like, "Dude, what's up, Johnny? Like, nice to meet you." So we start. He won't leave us alone now. He's
Yeah.
following us everywhere, asking, "Hey, can we go get ice cream?" I'm like, "Dude, I will buy this guy ice cream for sure."
Yeah.
We go up onto the pier, and at this point, I'd never seen a dolphin in my life, and I'm like, "Man, I really want to see a dolphin." He goes, "You want to see a dolphin?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I am one with the ocean," and God is my witness. There were 5 people standing on that pier with me that can all testify to this. He puts his hand like there's spot there. It's like street lights down the pier, right? So you can
Mm-hmm.
walk on it at night, but it illuminates the water underneath the pier. He stretches both hands out over the guardrail at the ocean, and a dolphin and a baby dolphin surface right underneath us. And everyone's like, "What the hell just happened?" Like, there's no way. So, anyways, we end up spending the whole night hanging out with Johnny Ray, finding out that he had gone down there for a senior trip in college. He has his master's in piano and conducting or something like that. And he got thrown in the drunk tank the final night that everybody was there. They all hopped on the charter bus back to their college, and he got left because he was in jail. And from there, he just said, "I'm not going to leave." And he lives underneath a pier, asks for money, does drugs, and lives his best life.
And talks to dolphins.
Dude,
That
it
that's the most crazy part about that story is imagine Did you ever imagine for a moment when he outstretches his arms and he's trying to do this magic to the ocean that you were the one on drugs because this dude is is making dolphins appear out of nowhere?
Dude, we're all in the Matrix, and this guy has unlocked. He has
The
taken the
Matrix.
right pill, and
That's
when
that's the
he
right
did that,
answer.
I was like, "Whoa, this is super weird." Because I mean, Joe Rogan, he talks about like how you're in tune with nature when you're on MDMA and
Mm-hmm.
like all these different things. And I've never done any hard drugs at all. I could ask my brother; he's done every one of them. What it's like, but like you hear people talk about that, and they're like, "Dude, you can hear trees. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can know how a tree is feeling." When you're on
Yeah.
this drug. Like everything is communicating always. And I'm like, I wonder if there's something to I wonder if there's a certain part of our brain, our biology that gets unlocked when you take certain things. I'm not going to
Mm-hmm.
experiment and figure it out, but I don't know. Maybe there's something to it. All of these like holy people and like spiritual leaders or witch doctors or shaman or whatever you want to call them all around the globe have taken something to like see past just the physical around them.
Boy, this podcast is going to be awesome, dude. Like, I don't know if anybody's going to listen to it. All I know is I'm going to enjoy the conversations with you
We're going to look forward to it every week.
every week, every
It's going to
week.
be the biggest dud of a podcast, but it's going to be our escape. Like, babe, I just need to get away.
Yeah. We don't even check the analytics at all. All we do is just we are recording all of the stuff because like there are certain things that pop into my head on a daily basis that you don't want to ask your wife because then your wife will be like, dude, what is wrong with you? You're like,
Yep.
man, I wonder what that concrete tastes like. That just stuff like that pops into my head, and I'm just like, if I ask,
That's the first one.
I ask my wife, and she would be like, she would start thinking about leaving me if I started asking what really popped into my head every day.
On, are you talking like freshly poured concrete or like just licking hardened concrete that's been there for a while?
Just like walking out to my truck, looking down on the ground, and that pops into your head. And instead of saying it out loud, you keep it in because your wife is with you. And you're just like, man, I wonder what that concrete tastes like right now. I mean, it's been flavored all winter. You throw some ice on it.
Yeah, the
Human,
salt from the road. Yeah.
yep. Human
I mean,
traffic, rubber, oil, leakage, or maybe you got some of that
people
on there.
spitting their dip out,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. What
See,
does it taste
I'm
like?
here thinking like you go past a construction area and you see the soft serve coming out of the back of the truck, and you just think like that kind of looks like gritty gray ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Like what
Yeah.
what would that taste like?
We'll have to figure that out. Maybe we'll have a concrete tasting challenge as one
This
as
is
one of
gonna
these.
be a non-food food blog. That's what
Yep.
we're turning
Yep.
this podcast into.
Hey, have you ever seen that show where people have eating disorders, but they eat like detergent or toilet paper or
Dude,
crazy things
paint
like that?
markers. Did you see that one? There's a
Paint.
lady who eats paint. It's like a paint marker
Mm.
that you like mark on metal or glass or whatever, and she rips the top off of it and she does them like shots all day long.
Mm. Is she dead now?
Dude, she's full. It was on like that weird addiction show
Yeah, that's what
on
it's called. My Weird
MTV.
Addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was that exact show. Yeah. Maybe, dude, maybe that's what I mean. Talking about this being a safe space for you to talk about whatever you want. Maybe that's the podcast name. We're
See,
looking for the Safe
my
Space podcast.
yeah, the
People are
safe
over
space.
here like trying to figure out how to get out of domestic abuse situations, and then they just listen to us.
Like, I love the ratings were like 1 star, not what I expected. But I like going back to the food thing. I am less interested of what drives them to eat that stuff and more interested in what their bowel movements are like after they eat a whole bunch of Tide Pods.
Yep.
Like, what are you doing? You must have the cleanest butthole on the face of the earth.
Yeah. It's like you know how the people of Cops started the show Jail because it
Mm-hmm.
was like, hey, we're showing them this, but like people want to know what happens
Yeah.
after we arrest them.
Mm-hmm.
There needs to be like My Strange Addiction and then like Toilet Tales, where it's just
There
like
you go.
you see this dude who only eats peel and pull licorice or whatever it's called.
Mm-hmm.
Pull, pull and peel? I don't know.
Pull and peel and eat.
Something like that. Whoever he only eats that, this is what his poop looks like.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the butterfly board where you pin all the butterflies up, but it's like a bunch of different poops that
What about a game show where you had four contestants and then, or four people, and then you're the contestant and you have four bowls of feces in front of you, and you have to ask questions to figure out what feces goes with what person? That would be interesting, and have like a doctor or a proctologist
yeah.
or whoever deals with digestive issues, like
Do you get to have them walk? Like somebody lays just a loaf,
a loaf. Yeah.
and then you're like, hey, this dude's limping around. I bet it was him. Like
Yeah.
he's walking funny.
He's
Uh,
stretched out. He's stretched
yeah.
out a little bit. Yeah.
You have them do different activities. Yeah, I mean, it's like a competition show,
Mhm.
and you have to be, if you don't guess it right, you end up on the panel and you have to poop in a
Mm,
bowl for people to look
yeah.
at.
Have you ever
Yeah.
seen that show, Is It Cake?
Oh, yeah. My kids are
Yeah.
obsessed with it.
Yeah. So maybe they would have an adult version of that where it's like, is it shit? And then people have to, from like 20 feet away, there's a pot. Okay. Maybe this idea is not so good after I'm started saying out loud.
Hey, it's okay. This is a safe space. We're not going
Safe
to judge
space.
you
Yep.
for it.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, we were, when this whole thing started, we were talking about what you did to get to where you are today. So I'm just going to speedball through that and then we can get back to that. Okay. Where were you born?
Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Okay. What year were you born?
88.
Okay. How many jobs have you had? How many jobs have you had between now and then? And can you name them in chronological order?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Tree farm worker,
Mhm.
McDonald's. That was only 3 days. It doesn't fully count. Ashley Furniture employee, um, construction custodian, warehouse um, puller. I don't know what that one's called.
Forklift driver.
Yeah, essentially, I was just picking orders, and then that transitioned to shipping manager. Then I went to shipping manager at another job. Then I went to um, volunteer project manager for a nonprofit. Then I went to another warehouse job where I just made armor, then more construction, then we just worked for ourselves. We did RVs and then podcasting,
Okay.
social
All right.
media.
All right.
So everything was just manual labor stuff. I mean,
Gotcha. And then, wait a second, you lived in Wisconsin. And then where did you move to?
I moved to Ozark, Missouri.
Ozark, Missouri. But didn't you live in
Yep.
Colorado for a while?
So I moved to Ozark, went to college, then after college, just moved up to Springfield, then moved to Colorado after getting married, lived out there for a couple years, and then moved back to Springfield. So,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
yep.
Okay. All right. My name's Dan Johnson. I was born in 1980. Uh, and then my jobs that I've had, paper route,
Hold
or
on.
well,
In this chronological order,
Mhm.
when did the finger disappear?
well, I'll get to, I will specifically mark it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll specifically mark it. So first job I ever had, I got a check from my grandpa for $3 for walking beans, pulling weeds out of bean fields. Okay. My next job was a paper boy. And then my next job after that was a step up to like a assistant delivery guy, which was just an old dude who didn't want to get out of his van every morning. He hired me to take these stacks of papers and put them in the 25 cent. You'd pay 50 cents for a Sunday paper or whatever
Yep.
the case was.
Yeah.
And then, so I would put them in those machines. After that, I worked at a restaurant being dishes. I was a lifeguard for in and out of that whole time. Construction worker, by the way, one of the worst jobs I ever had, and we'll get into that at some point. And then from that, I went to I made and delivered to cemeteries tombstones. So someone would die. Some guy would create a cover that went over top of it, and you would peel away the name and the date and the whatever little thing that they would write on the front of the tombstone, and then I would sit in front of a sandblaster, automated sandblaster, back and forth, paint the insides of it, and then take it to a cemetery and set it up for people. Right?
What's the best thing you ever saw in there? Like, you know, the yearbook stuff where people will put a funny thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever get a funny saying that really caught you off guard?
No, there wasn't, which always surprised me. Right? Because you're supposed to be as happy as humanly possible. Like you would just see great dad, great husband, or just love it. But I thought it would be like awesome to have just once some dude like great dick, knew how to use it type. Like he was really proud of the way he could lay it down, right? And his wife would be next to him for eternity, and she was happy with all her life with that guy. I don't know why I'm thinking his name's Paul. Like Paul, dude. You know what? I loved
Paul just
Paul
knew what
threw
he
it.
had.
Yeah,
Knew what he had and liked to
he knew
share
what he
it.
had, and he threw it, man. He threw it. And so, I wish I wish we were able to put that on Paul's
See, the
epitaph or
problem is
whatever.
once you're dead, you have no control over that.
I know.
Like, I tell my wife the things that, like, hey, this is what I want. She's like, do you want to be buried or cremated? And I'm like, neither.
Yeah.
She's
Neither
like, what
do
are you
I.
talking about? I said, my buddies already know. They are to take my body into the wilderness, the most remote place they can, and leave it out there for the wild animals to eat.
Yes.
And she's like, absolutely not.
Dude.
I'm like, that's my final wish. You're not going to honor my final wish? She's like, no, I want you buried next to me.
Boring.
And I was like, you want to be cremated? She's like, okay, well, but like wherever I am, like and it just doesn't make sense to me. She doesn't like the idea of her body being in the ground decaying. I'm like, but it's more exciting to think about being singed in an oven.
Yeah.
Like incinerated.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Just
So,
drop me off.
Yeah. So check this out. Here's my ideal death. When I die, here's what I want. Two things. And I know they're both illegal. So I'm going to have to come up with a lot of money for somebody to steal my dead body from a corner or from like wherever I die from.
Yeah.
And I want to be buried in a grave in the woods with nothing, just my body. Maybe my favorite pair of boots. If there is an afterlife, I want a really good pair of boots. But I want to be buried so that the worms and I can decompose. And my thought process here is now I can become one with nature and the rest of the world, right? And like things dissolve. Or I want a Viking funeral, one of two ways. One, a giant bonfire, my body's on top. They light it on fire, and my bloodline is there to celebrate. And yes, it will be disturbing to see a human body burning, but that's how they did it back in the day, right? That's how they did it.
That's what do it instead of like sending you off on a ship. Can we just push you out on a pool floaty in an above ground pool? Just shoot you with like a flaming compound bow.
And then it goes right through me. It goes through the water, makes a hole, the pop, and it's like Weekend at Bernie's, where the pool explodes and just this dead body rolls out onto the grass.
This is partially burned. It hasn't fully engulfed you.
All my grandkids are there just like flipping out. The trauma.
Oh, everyone's screaming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
that would be cool to be put in a wooden boat up in Wisconsin and be lit on fire and just travel down the Mississippi.
See, I think it'd be cool. Like, what if What if we just played a prank on all like scientists and uh evolutionists, and we like found somebody to dig up the earth,
Mm-hmm.
bury us pretty deep,
Mm-hmm.
cover us with rocks that like take millions of years to form, but like we're dressed in a three-piece suit, and then down
Mm-hmm.
the road someone uncovers it and they're like they were they had all of these crazy rocks that takes forever to form, and they were just like, this is the oldest known human remains out there because of where it was.
Yeah, that
but
would be pretty
but then
interesting.
I've got like a normal t-shirt on, like a graphic tee from Old Navy, and they're like, he was a time traveler.
He was
That's
a
the
time
only
traveler.
explanation.
His last visit was to Old Navy. Old Navy. Old Navy.
I
Oh,
forgot
oh,
about that. Okay, so I was wrong. I didn't lay them all out in order. I probably missed a bunch of jobs. I
I'm.
worked
Yeah.
I worked at Old Navy, and I would fold t-shirts like it was nobody's business, and then somebody would come in and they just rip one out of the bottom of the stack and like totally undo an hour of work.
Mm-hmm.
But they wanted me to be a manager there. And I did not want that to be my life story. I did not want that to be on my tombstone. Great Old Navy manager.
I just hope. I want to make this podcast all inclusive. So if you are currently the manager at an Old Navy, this is no push on this guy, right? I actually want employees of Old Navy to listen to this podcast, but it just wasn't Dan's dream
It just
to be
wasn't
a.
my dream.
It just wasn't
We
his dream to be a
need we
manager.
need good people in those positions.
Exactly,
I just
especially at
knew
Old
that
Navy.
I couldn't service the population in our mall like
Mhm.
I would hope somebody would.
To the
So
best of your abilities.
yeah, so I just
Right.
went a different direction.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Old Navy, if you're listening, we will take your advertising dollars. Wouldn't it be sweet if this podcast was sponsored by Old Navy?
Dude, that would be awesome.
It'd be awesome.
And then
I think.
right now we could be cutting and being like, now through March 31st, you can get 3 graphic tees for $9.99. And then
Back. It's time to go back to school.
And then it's time to go. And then you just say all of the disclosures really fast, like,
yeah,
this excludes Hawaii and Alaska, and like you just do it.
There it is. God, we have so many awesome ideas. It's not even funny. All right, so after I was a construction worker and after I made tombstones, I went and worked at a shoe store in Des Moines, Iowa. And then that job was crazy. I literally saw this dude come in and trade a bag of marijuana for a pair of Timberland boots.
All right.
Yep. And I was like, whoa, that's the kind of barter and trade system America was built on. So,
dude, you just feel like you're living in the frontier at that point.
exactly. I mean, it's about resources and needs, right? That guy needed a pair of Timberlands, and the other guy, the store manager, he needed that weed, and so that was interesting to see that that trade is still alive and well in America. Outside of that, what did I do after that? Then I got a job at Wells Fargo, which would have been probably the most boring job I've ever been in. It was a drive in, get up an elevator, answer a phone, tell people about, talk to people about some thing that they received in the mail. If they wanted to go through with it, then you transfer them to some loan officer. And I did that for a while until my mind just started to break.
How
After
many
that,
people do
I'm
you think you talked to?
In
No,
that
just
time
like
period,
over your tenure.
dude, I was getting like 20 calls a day from people. So I mean, I talk to everybody from don't ever send me this fraud again. Like, this is fraud. You're trying to steal my money, blah. Don't ever try to. And I'm like, okay, I'll take you off the list or whatever. And then there was other people who were like, hey man, can I get more? Yeah, the interest rate's like 900%. Are you cool with that? Yeah, I just need money. right now. I just need money right now. And so then I'd send
And
them
you're
off.
like, hey, man, I'm just going to do you a solid and let you know that you can trade marijuana for Timberland boots.
People,
Like,
and that's where Wells Fargo would get mad at me because they were. I would say, "Hey, this guy was like, hey man, I need a loan to buy a pair of Timberlands." I go, "Hey, I shouldn't be telling you this, but do you have marijuana?" Yeah, I got plenty of marijuana. Well, did you know there's a store that you can trade marijuana for Timberland boots? No shit. Where's it at? And I give them, I make that my goal in life is just to make people's day better. And I
yeah.
think I was doing that over there, and that guy, he really appreciated that.
Yeah.
So
Dang.
after that, I moved to Alabama and I took a job where I was the manager of like 35 Mexicans and Guatemalans who cleaned a facility where I don't know, where it was like we made chicken tenders, we made chicken tenders, we made soup for or chicken for soup mixes, breaded tenderloins, things like that. Anyway, it was like a Tyson's or a Butterball or something like that.
Yeah.
And then and so I was a manager there for a couple of years. That job was crazy. I got lots of stories about that job. And then after that, I took a job at a facility where I was a manager of a facility that made um, junk mail for companies. So like, if anytime you receive an envelope full of like, I don't know what it is, like just those CDs you used to buy, like, hey, for $1 you can get 25 CDs,
Yep.
whatever, or Publishers Clearinghouse or junk like that. That company made that and then shipped them out. Right. So I did
Okay.
that. And then after that, I went to a company. Man, I got a lot of jobs. And after that, I went
Dude,
to a
and
company.
not just a lot of jobs, but such variety.
Variety. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like shoe store, Wells Fargo,
Mm-hmm.
managing Guatemalans,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
junk mail.
Junk mail.
I mean, you were really lacking direction, weren't you?
Yeah. I didn't know what I was doing in life. I was really drinking heavily throughout that time period too, just so you
Yeah.
know. And so that might
You were one step away from being able to talk to dolphins under a
exactly.
pier. Yeah.
Yeah. That I did apply for that job, but I'd never heard back from anybody.
He said you don't have the qualifications.
Yeah, I don't you need to uptake your fentanyl use and
Yeah.
then we can talk. But after that, I went to an automotive facility or an automotive manufacturer that made secondary plastic parts like bug shields, window vents, um, like wraps for your car, things like that. I was the director of marketing there for a little bit, and then after that, oh man, what did I do after that? I think after that, I got a job in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where I had worked for the longest period of time. And that was like almost like 8 years or 10 years or something like that, where I worked for a company, basically Yellow Book, like the phone books, but then it all turned digital and we created websites and I was a content writer for a while. Did a lot of stuff with, uh, like I was, a process engineer for a long period of time too. And then after that, I started podcasting. And so that's kind of a really fast, unorganized breakdown of my life so far. In the mix of that, I got married and had 3 kids.
Yeah.
So, and you're married and you have, how many kids do you
Two
have?
kids.
2 kids.
2 kids, and my wife is really, really wanting another one.
I heard about
Which,
that.
dude, yeah, I mean, that's a big jump. We went from work fully done, absolutely done, to now she's on a tear. Like it's gonna happen.
Do you
I just
feel
know it.
like do you feel like you have a ton of money? Because I can imagine a woman who wants another child with her husband, almost like a woman who's going after a man who has a ton of money. Like they want the D and they want to get pregnant by it.
All the time.
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't matter what I do.
Mhm.
I walk in the house and she's like, "Now." Okay.
I wonder what that's like, dude.
Dude,
That's crazy.
it's been about a month of it, and it's wild. Like she
Yep.
shows me on her phone because she's tracking it. She's tracking every time we do it and her cycle and fertility and ovulation and all that stuff. And she shows me, and I'm like, all right, what am I looking at? She's like, all those dots. That's when we've done it. And I'm like, shoot, man, I personally know people who haven't had that much, and they're married, that haven't
Mhm.
had that much in the last year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it's great right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then once she's pregnant, I think those dots are going to slowly disappear.
Yep.
And then
I
once
wish
she
I
has a baby, it's really going to disappear.
yeah. I wish I had more dots on my calendar, dude.
Yeah.
I would love some more dots on my calendar. Oh.
That's just, dude,
It's life.
I will say, we've been blessed. I feel like it's been pretty consistent throughout marriage so far.
Yeah.
And I know there's been points where it's been, a ghost town, but as a whole, I feel like I've had it pretty good.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
the weird thing is now, when we had our first kids, because we had them 18 months apart, we were like broke, had no money at all. And now this kid is going to grow up just ready for like
Easy street.
easy street.
Easy street.
When you gap them out like that, I'm just like, we're in a totally different position in life. 5 years ago, I was paying for gas with the change that I had in my truck. Like, dude, can I get 47 cents on pump 3? For real. Like, we were that broke.
Yeah.
And yeah, this kid's not going to know what that's like. So,
Oh man, that's crazy. What are the ages of your kids?
8. So, we've got a boy who's 8, girl who's 6. And then she had 2 surrogate babies in between our 6-year-old now. Now she's talking about having another one for us and then potentially doing a surrogate after that.
So
We
that
were like done.
yeah.
6-7 months ago, when she was like in the last week of pregnancy for the surrogate baby, she was like, never again. We're not getting pregnant again. Like, for anything. We're not doing surrogate. As I'm talking within 2 minutes of pushing that child out, she looked at me and went, that was pretty easy. And I said, no, you told me don't ever let you do this again. And ever since, she's just been like, we're going to do it again. I want to be pregnant again. So,
Yeah. And of course, you're a dumb man, and there's no way you can resist the musk of a ovulating woman. And
dude,
she's in charge. You don't even know it, and she's in charge.
100%.
Yep.
It's just like, we really are the weaker of the
Yep.
two genders.
Mentally, probably. Mentally.
Oh yeah,
I'd kick the shit out of my wife if it ever came to a fight. I'm beating the shit out of her.
If it ever was like MMA rules or street fight rules, like shopping carts aside, like we're just fighting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
they have kryptonite. They have the kryptonite.
At any point, I could, instead of tapping, she could just be like, do you want it right now? And I'd be like, dang it. Yeah.
What were we fighting about?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Gosh, I love you so much. You're so beautiful.
Yep. My sperm must be really potent, because we had sex 3 times and had like 3 babies, dude. I'm not joking. Like, there wasn't ever like a time where we were struggling getting pregnant.
Yeah.
It was like boom, 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 done. Like, oh, I'm pregnant. Jesus. Like, I was hoping that would drag out for a while and we could start doing some experiments and shit. But nope. Then, like, right away after we were married. And we got married late. We were like 32. We got married at 32. 30. She was a year older than me, so I was 32, I think. She was 33. Or no, I was 31. She was 32. And then we had a kid directly after that. And then after that, 2 years later, we had another kid. And then the third kid, she tricked me, right? And I don't even. So my youngest boy was born in September, and let's see, what's the math there? If he was born mid-September,
June.
So was it? No, June,
Oh
July,
no,
August,
sorry. He
September.
was born mid-September.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
when did we do it to get pregnant?
March?
March,
No.
April,
No, no,
May,
no.
June,
January.
January, February,
September's
March,
9
April,
months.
May, June, July, August, September. Yeah. So January.
This is
Maybe
not a math podcast,
I know.
everybody.
So I'm guessing it was New Year's Eve, probably. That sounds about right. New Year's Eve. I can remember I was tipsy. I know I don't know if she had this whole plan, but we had just got back from somewhere. I think we had a babysitter that night. We went out with some friends. I was a little tipsy, and I went to go grab a condom, and she's like, "Oh, you don't need one. I'm not ovulated." And she almost said it like in a Dracula voice. Imagine Dracula saying, "I'm not ovulating." And then I was like, in my head, I go, "Okay." Like, okay. And then, 40 weeks later or whatever, we had another baby. So she knew what she was doing. She tricked the shit out of me. And I fell victim to a woman's touch once again.
Dude, man, I don't know. I feel like they can trick us all we want. If we were to
Mhm.
trick them, there's probably charges being
Oh,
pressed, right?
100%.
In my
Yep.
mind, I'm like, okay, I've got this new business idea where you sell pregnancy tests that always say not pregnant, even if
Hmm.
they are,
Hmm.
just so that guys can get it a little bit more
Hmm.
during
Oh,
that.
bummer.
It's like,
Bummer.
hey, well, I told my wife she's never had a problem getting pregnant either. We've never like we're trying, but it's not happening. And I know that that's the case for some people. And I've even heard of like secondhand infertility where you knock out three babies back to back to back, like every time it seems like you're getting pregnant, and then you just can't
Yep.
for X amount of time. But for that, I'm like, I told Sam, I was like, you know what you have to do leading up to a big game, right? Two-a-days. Like, it's just
Mm.
the rule,
I pulled the 2-a-days.
right?
I pulled the 2-a-days, dude.
Yeah.
I said,
But it's like, then as soon as they're pregnant, it's like, oh, we don't need to keep trying
mhm.
twice a day.
Yep.
If they don't know they're pregnant, they will.
Yep.
So maybe you get an extra week out of it until they really start feeling symptoms, or 2 weeks, or if you're lucky, a month,
Yeah. Yeah. They miss their period, and then they notice that they missed their period. Yeah.
Yep.
I went in and I said, to my wife, I go, "Hey, listen, if we're going to do this, we got to do this for our second son, or my first son, second child." I said, "We're going to do this. We got to do it.
Yeah.
Like, we got to go," because she was reading things where it's like the third day, the 7 day, the, whatever the day. And I'm like, no, no, no. You want a baby every day. And we're going
Yep.
every day. anyway, anyway, so like we were hitting it for like, I don't know, several, like maybe a week of just a lot, and maybe 2 weeks, and then it was boom, pregnant. I was like, uh, I wish I had your business idea. I wish I
Yeah.
had something that said negative on it. And
Yep.
so
10 more days.
10 more
10 more
days. Yep.
days.
Of just
That's what
throwing
we'll
it.
call it. Just 10 more
Yep.
days. We've got a lot of really great and really bad ideas.
Yeah. More great,
Someone's
though,
going to
if I
make a
had to
lot of
say.
money off this podcast, I bet.
Yep.
It's not going to be either of us, but it
Yep.
will be somebody.
Yeah. Does Procter and Gamble make pregnancy tests?
Dude, I'm going to be honest. As far as adulting goes, when I hear company names that have two people in them, I don't have any idea what they do. When people are like, "Oh yeah, Merrill Lynch," I'm like, which one's that?
Yeah.
Johnson and Johnson. I know that one. That one's been in the news a lot lately.
Baby oil.
But
That's why you know it.
Yep.
Lube, baby oil.
Lube. K-N-Y. I know
K&Y.
that one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
I have no idea what Procter and Gamble even does.
I think we have some research to do for our next episode.
Yeah.
We've been hitting this for an hour and 4 minutes now.
Holy cow.
I think if anything, this is a great introduction to we had this whole thing planned out to where it's like, oh, we need to talk about ourselves to let them know who we are. But I think the conversations that we've had today really let people know who we are. And so this is the best intro that you're going to get from us.
you got you got a couple good stories. You got our sex schedule and our
Mhm.
job history. Like you got
There you go.
our
Resume, basically.
resume. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Basically a
know
resume.
everything you need. You could steal our identity at this point.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, is there anything else? At this point, we don't even still know the name of this podcast. So we don't know where to point you yet as
Nope.
far as social media, or if you like this, pass it on. This is just episode 1 introduction. Who knows how you're going to find us? I guess the only thing to do is just to save us in your brain and then check next week for another episode. So
Yep.
even though you
Man.
don't know, like we don't even know right now,
No,
but
they'll be going through withdrawals after
yep.
a week of not hearing this content.
Mhm.
They're going to be just itching, and they'll do whatever they can to find us.
Absolutely. Yep. Doing whatever they can to find us, just like your buddy who lived under the pier looking for his next hit.
Johnny Ray.
Johnny Ray and talking to dolphins. Do you ever think about Johnny Ray at all?
All the time. I think he's in our book. We've got a book coming out, and I'm pretty sure we talk about him in the book.
Okay.
Maybe that's what this is. Maybe we call this the Dolphin Talk Podcast. The Ocean Whisperer.
We might have to talk about that one.
Think about it. Think about two dolphins jumping out of a wave with the moon behind them, but they have our faces on.
Our
them.
faces on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting, Dan.
That's like when someone tries to hook you up with a chick
Yeah.
and they're like, she's just so sweet.
Yep.
You just know that means she's ugly.
Well, my grandma, she was a nurse, and she tried to hook me up with a nurse. And my brother was there, and he goes, "What's she look like, Grandma?" And my grandma goes, "She's really nice." And I just laughed my ass off. I just laughed my ass off.
Every time.
Yep. And so I go, "Grandma, I'll handle it from here." So
I love
Dan,
it. And now
I think this is where we end. Exactly. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen.